Hello, family. I trust that you're doing well. Today, I want to talk to you about the struggle with walking straight. That's right, the struggle with walking straight. You know, when I talk about walking straight, I'm talking about receiving the greatest gift that God could ever give us, and that gift is salvation. God has given that gift to us freely. However, once we receive it, we have to work out our own salvation. And how we work out our own salvation is we have to walk by faith and not by sight. Many of us, we hear that particular scripture and we get excited about it. But do we really appreciate what it means to walk by faith and not by sight? See, to walk by sight, it means we walk according to our feelings. And that's what so many of God's people do. We walk by our feelings. And when you walk by your feelings, that means you're looking for instant gratification. And that's what the devil is banking on. He tries to show you the good up front. And when you walk by your feelings, that's what happens. See, you get the reward in the beginning, but ultimately it leads to a dead end. That's what the Bible tells us, that the wages of sin is death. See, you do get wages for it. You do get a reward. You do get payment for sin. Sin, make no mistake about it, it is pleasurable. However, what the devil is banking on is for you to receive the reward in the beginning and never have the foresight to know that in the end you end up bankrupt. You end up with all the problems and all the pressures and all of the pain. But God does not want us to walk by feelings for instant gratification, whereby we get the reward in the beginning. God says walk by faith. And when we walk by faith, that means we're not looking for pleasure, but we're seeking for God's promise. Now, to receive God's promise, we have to be willing to wait, to be patient. Although we don't see the reward all the time in the beginning, we will receive the reward in the end. The result is God will bless us. It's like the mouse. When the mouse goes to the trap, all the mouse sees is the cheese. They never regard the trap. And so the mouse will go for instant gratification. The mouse will nibble on that cheese day after day after day until one day that mouse will eat enough cheese to where the cheese now sets off the mechanism on the trap and snaps the mouse's neck. Well, that's what happens when we walk by our feelings as opposed to walking by our faith. Galatians 6:9, it tells us, do not grow weary in well doing, for we will reap if we faint not. That's what happens when we walk by faith. And so the struggle with walking straight, the struggle with walking in our salvation is we have to trust God. Even when we can't trace God, when we cannot sense what God is doing, we have to trust His plan. That's what faith is. Faith is not merely operating without evidence. Faith is obeying God despite the consequences. Faith is obeying God although you can't see the immediate result. You can believe His promise. You know, several years ago, I decided to start walking in the summers just to lose some weight. And I started off on a 3-mile trek. And after I got accustomed to walking 3 miles, I moved it up to 6 miles. Then I went to 10 miles. And believe it or not, I eventually decided to walk through several cities here where I live at. And I walked 35 miles from my city to another city, 35 miles. And I got up at midnight and I had my water pack and I had my knee pads. I mean, I had all kinds of equipment as I was out there walking at night. And I walked through the night all the way to the next afternoon, and I began to feel it. I'm telling you, I began to feel the pressure of walking. My body grew weary, but I couldn't stop because I had decided I was going to complete that walk. Well, on my trek, I had several people who would pull over and ask me, "Do you need a lift? Are you okay?" And I was letting them know I'm fine. I'm going to finish this walk. Well, I would say 10 miles outside of the city where I was walking to, a state trooper pulled over, and a state trooper began to question me as to why I was out there walking. And the state trooper, he very emphatically just asked, "Why are you walking so far?" And I looked at state trooper in his eyes, my body weary and all. But I drew back my shoulders, I lifted up my chin, and my answer was simply this: I'm walking this far because I can. My brothers and my sisters, you can walk by faith and not by sight. It's going to be some struggles. There will be some stress as well as strains. However, you can trust in God's Spirit. It won't be by your strength, nor by your might, nor by your power, but it will be according to God's Spirit if you rest in Him and allow Him to encourage you along the way. I want you to understand that the strategy in walking straight is that you have to be patient. You have to believe that although you don't see the reward in the beginning, God is going to bless you in the end. If you can believe that, if you can conceive that, then you will receive and achieve what God would have for you. Hey, remain safe and remember, God is real.
The wait is finally over for the latest book release by Tyrone Holcomb. Lifelines, the news release guaranteed to help you live your life in line with God, also available as an ebook. This book will reveal God's heart while keeping you in line with His plan. In life, we encounter various lines, from the dreaded flat line to the splendor of the skylines to the pressure of meeting the deadlines as we fight our way to the finish line. With this dynamic book, Tyrone Holcomb will help you discover the power of lines we encounter in our life and the potential you possess to be able to successfully handle them. Order your copy of Lifelines today, available as an ebook. Log on to TyroneHolcomb.net to place your order today.